Hi James, hi Will. Thanks for being here. It's good to have you together. So it'd be good just to talk about, the story of Jet, how you two came together. I think everyone would love to hear that, and what's to come, and all things Jet Protocol. So what I think a lot of people really like to know is how did you two meet originally?
So, in Consensus back in 2017, I was coming over from the TradFi world, and James was my new hire mentor at the Mesh, Consensus Mesh, if anyone remembers that. It's kind of like a story from way back. But yeah, pretty much I was thrown into the deep end, and James pretty much, he fielded a bunch of questions on oh, why does this work? What's this? How does it work here? Because, I'd come from traditional finance. There's Consensus was a much less structured place. And then we just became friends, worked on similar things. He was working at MetaMask at the time. And we just kind of moved on from there, but that's pretty much where we met.
Yeah, Will was really eager to get started and wanted to help. He wanted to help do the grunt work of technical support at MetaMask back when nobody wanted to. We were getting crushed by CryptoKitties and that EOS that EOS token sale, perpetual token sale. So yeah, it was pretty brutal time in terms of technical support back then, and Will just hopped in, and I really appreciated it. And fast friends, and we went through that 2017 bull cycle together, at Consensus, which was really a great place to be during that time. Tons of exposure to a lot of up and coming projects and initiatives, which at this point seems like ancient history. It seems like a different era, which it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in the middle of the bear market in 2018 or 2019, I forget exactly which year it was, Will and I met up, and we were kind of going our separate paths. I think you were going to work on ETH2 research.
Yeah, and I was still at Cowrie as well. I mean, it was just auditing. There was a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah, you had your hands in a lot of pies. You were doing a lot of technical stuff. So you were heading off towards, your direction, which would eventually bring you to Maker, which you definitely should talk about. And then I was heading off towards my path, which was towards some of these other proof of stake technologies. So I started working on Cosmos and Polkadot and that ecosystem. And so I just remember we met up for Vietnamese pho in Manhattan.
Manhattan, yeah. We definitely took different paths, but that was the first time we actually talked about we want to build something, and we didn't really even have. I mean, we knew we were going to build something in crypto, but we hadn't really narrowed it down at all. So at that point in time.
And so fast forward a couple of years, almost exactly a couple of years, our paths had diverged a lot. And, Will had just come out of DeFi summer working at Maker. Yeah. And I was working on a staking and governance app called Looney at the time. And finally, both of our existing jobs at the time, which we really liked, were coming to a natural conclusion. So we both reached out to each other again, and we were all right, time to revisit this idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the perfect storm as well. There was, the global pandemic, there was global unrest. The markets were basically, it was March 12th, the big blowout at Maker. There was Maker really struggled. But then after that, the market started to just, the bull run started, I guess, right after March. But there was just a lot of stuff going on, and it was the perfect time to just go full bore into building something.
Yeah. So what made you both want to start, a DeFi project, during a pandemic, but also in, I guess, what a lot of people look at, quite a crowded market?
Yeah. So DeFi stemmed. Well, there's two big parts, right? There's the DeFi component and there's the governance component. We both have our own we both have strong opinions on governance. And the DeFi, I mean, personally the thing that attracted me the most about it was when I left college, which, right after the global financial crisis, I wanted to go work on Wall Street. I was really attracted to that. Like, I wanted to work, I want to be like a trader and have all these screens sitting at a desk and like trading the markets. And I was never able to get a job. I was really interested in debt capital markets and, like universally as an industry, like it was in decline. And yeah, it's hard to get a job there. You had to come from like a pedigreed university. So I never got the job, and ended up going to work in tech consulting and tech implementation on a sales and trading floor, which was cool. But I was always like, I wanted to be like, the hybrid of like the tech and trader. But this is also like, to go back to where I met James, is like, okay, well, at that point in time, I was like, I definitely don't want to do this. So like, I'm gonna, crypto was on the rise, and like previously, I'd always thought, well, like, never really understood it, so I kind of just dismissed it too often. But yeah, then I, Consensus was hiring at the time, hopped in there, and I was like, I love this. And that's where I met James. Go back to the first part of the story. And then we just, move forward from there. But the DeFi and governance part, like, it is a crowded market, but we looked at it as like, well, Solana is, this brand new blockchain, or there's not that many projects on it compared to Ethereum. Borrowing and lending is more than just, just having a pool of funds and borrowing in and out of it. Like, we're like, there's definitely more here. We talked to a bunch of people. We did a bunch of research. We're like, we want to make this market more mature. So we put all that research into the product we have coming out now, Jet V2, which is which we'll be releasing over the next several months. But that was, and then coupling that with governance, which is, the big part of it. It's like they're both like inextricably linked, and those are things that we both took from our previous years in blockchain.
Yeah, like picking and choosing like what parts of what worked in the past and what parts didn't work. I think Wil and I kind of like saw a lot of different evolutions of different type of business models or lack of business models in the past. And so I think when Wil and I reconnected in 2020, after, we had chatted over time, but we both are doing our own things, just kind of checking up on each other. But when we reconnected in 2020 to actually talk about what we wanted to do together, there was all this opportunity. It was like a big casino. It's like hard to stay away from the craps table. Like, everyone wants to trade because everyone, like, any fool is able to make $1. And so, we were like, oh, should we start a trading firm? Should we do, like, what should we do? And it just kind of came back to core principles about like what got us the most excited and passionate when we got into the space. And it was like, for me, MetaMask was just a tool that anybody could use. It was ubiquitous. I loved working on it. I loved helping people figure out how to use it safely to benefit them. Same thing with Looney, same thing with a bunch of other projects that I worked on. And I think like Wil worked for Maker, which is basically the grandfather of DeFi. The most successful governance experiment in DeFi as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
And so I think it was kind of easy to just take a step back and realize, these market cycles are cyclical. They go up and they go down over and over again. And, we wanted to build something that would have some staying power across multiple market cycles. Like, that's always the challenge. Some projects come out and they just have somewhat of a short term, like capture as much value, as much market attention, maybe like as much token value as possible in a short amount of time. And then that's that. And I think we both wanted to undergo the experiment of building something that would intellectually be extensible across multiple periods of market upside and downside. So that, and to me, governance really was, having decentralized governance was the way that we could get there, not the fastest or the easiest or the most efficiently, but the way we could get there with the most resiliency.
Yeah, nobody cares about governance during a bull market, like in the heat of the bull market. It's always an afterthought, governance was a huge part of Maker. And there's a ton of rich discussion even now. Like, you go look at it, it can be quite heated at times, but they put a lot of effort into making it a good place for discourse. So, we built for that as well. We built and focused a lot of time on governance and shoring that up going forward for, what is this point in time, like the market's pretty shaky, right? Like people are going to start looking back at like who's building the infrastructure that could withstand a bear market and emerge out of it with like, you know, more velocity than going into it.
If everybody's down horrendous on their portfolios, which, you know, fortunately for us, I mean, we've been through this a few times. It's not really, you know, it's not that jarring anymore. Just kind of, you know, like watching waves come and go. But if people are, you know, for me, I got so interested in some of the on-chain governance experiments in the bear market. Like that was some of the most interesting, stimulating, work I'd ever done. And to us, I mean, we already just like we have our governance app, you know, the module within our program that allows people to come in and vote. And now we're finally starting to roll into the voting season, which will be collateral onboarding. And we have collateral onboarding is just one of probably dozens of types of proposal templates that we'll be running through in the next year. So we have a lot left to do on the product of V2. V2M is close to being done. Done. It's out of audit and everything, and V2 bonds will be out a little bit later. But like the work around the product is very far along, and you know we're very confident in the engineering work that we're doing. I think the thing that's more exciting, because it's more of a challenge on the long-term scale, is thinking about like how to back governance and the product together and have them be kind of intertwined. And I think that. Yeah, doing this during a bear market. I mean, we didn't choose it. Like we didn't know it was what we were going to be in. But like this is a good time to build and a good time to experiment. So we're still really excited.
Yeah, if you look at a bunch of centralized exchanges and how they list assets and how they manage the risk parameters of those assets, like you know, it's sort of a black box. Or like you know, projects will have to like pay a certain amount of money to go do it, but
have some wacky tokenomics.
Yeah, have some wacky tokenomics. Governance is a solution to that, like our solution to that. You know, public discourse in the forums, like a very process-driven approach to onboarding collateral, and a lot of those lessons we've taken from other protocols like Maker, you know, that have been building this stuff for a while, and implementing that as well, where it's public-facing and everyone can. Have their input, and it's not just like you know a decision from down high, like oh we're listing this asset, and then everyone can make those proposals as well. So that's I mean just one little slice of it, but it's built to be very dynamic.
One thing that a lot of new users and some community members have asked, and even you know people in the company perhaps new were not familiar with, why is it called Jet? And why the Jet brand?
Yeah.
How did you come up with that?
Oh, yeah. Well, we both had similar paths. We both studied abroad in the Czech Republic. We both did the digital nomad thing for a while, and you know, Jet is basically an airplane. We like traveling a lot.
Yeah. So there's that too. But we were joking. Like I don't know. Like we used to just laugh about the state of the market. You know, the peaks and its lows are when it's the most entertaining. And when the March drawdown happened, we were joking about how the MakerDAO liquidation and the MakerDAO liquidation engine was essentially just this steam engine. People were just shoveling coal into it. There's sparks flying out, there's pistons coming out the side.
Yeah.
And so we were just imagining this in almost pre-industrial, this pre-industrial engine going, and that kind of actually, we had a few other iterations of the term. We were trying to get Anatoly to let us use the word turbine, but which is a piece of Solana. We were like, can we use that? And it was not going to work. But yeah, it was just Jet just was it hit right, and we liked it, and. Our designer Holly did a ton of cool branding work around the actual image of the turbine, and it's been a fun branding and messaging experiment around that. And
I like the imagery of people shoveling coal into because that's what it was. I mean, DeFi even to this day is a bunch of people just a bunch of mechanics all greasy and dusty running around with wrenches like trying to keep stuff like, keep oil from falling out of the thing. But that's DeFi is still like that, and it will be like that for a long time. It's still very like bleeding edge technology, and people are, and also building the plane while they're flying it. Like Solana is a new blockchain, mainnet beta still, and people are everyone's looking for product market fit. Really figuring out how the VM works, because it's not an EVM chain. It's different. Like I think that Solana occupies this distinct position in the market that a lot of other blockchains do, and all the projects that are building on it are like contending with that as well, which is cool. It's different, and yeah, all that stuff together, like I don't know, like a lot of symbolism. We wanted to like name it something that was like unique and that meant something to us, and yeah, it was like the amalgamation of all those things. Yeah. So we talked through it.
Like a lot of projects are very more generic names, so it does separate itself.
Yeah, like cool names like stand out more. I mean,
great. And I think
one thing, can you move the hair right in the middle because it's kind of on the microphone?
Yeah. So.
And I think it'd be really good just to hear about what's to come slightly, to give perhaps a few snippets of some of the plans for the remainder of 2022. So
initially, I'd say the votes, collateral onboarding.
Yeah, immediately it would be collateral onboarding votes. So we're going to start. We already have a backlog of collateral types that have been requesting to be evaluated for adding to the protocol via on-chain governance. And so, we've actually had our year anniversary as a company this past week. And so, we got everyone together. So like next week, we're going to start working on starting to process through those applications. And then the remainder of the early part of the summer will be spent getting Jet V2 margin finished.
Which is, for the Jet plane, a brand new borrowing and lending margining engine that, we've spent, the past 6 months working on. We wanted to build something that was more powerful, that build like a really nice runway where everyone can sort of like land and take off from. It's with much more utility. And that's what we did. Yeah, we were like, okay, we'll like skate where the puck is going, essentially. It's like, there's a lot of the same stuff, and there's really not that much innovation. Like, let's sort of flip that upside down and then release that. And that's where, that's our big statement for 2022, like Jet V2. Margin and fixed rate, fixed term lending. And the solution we put together that we're deploying over the next several months is really, really confident and really excited to see the market receive it.
It'll come out in stages. So people can expect to see the back end of the current V1, which is our MVP, be replaced with V2 margin. And so your average user won't notice the difference. It'll just be same exact interface, same exact functionality, but we're actually going to plug in V2 on the back end. But before that, over the next month, we'll be open sourcing the code for V2 margin. It's already come out of audit, and we'll also be having it on DevNet. And we'll start work with other teams for integrations,
growth.
And so that's what we'll be working on for the next couple of months. Once it goes live on mainnet, working on adapters and more integrated, more complex integrations with other protocols, which we'll need to do some custom adapter building with. But in conjunction with that, we'll be rolling right into finishing the bonds program, which is fixed rate, fixed term, and that should come out towards the end of the summer. And so after that, you're going to have that's the full breadth of V2 as it stands, and then going to market with that and getting as many integrations and partnerships as possible. I mean, it's an extensible program. It's an extensible part of the protocol that lots of different other protocols can actually build on top of, and so we want to really support the ecosystem to use that. And then, beyond 2022, it's really just seeing where the most demand is in terms of additional features for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So packed out year.
Yep. It's going to be exciting.
Great. So we've heard a lot there. I mean, is there anything else you want to close with to tell people about?
Well, we'll be putting out lots of educational material through our marketing efforts. So not only just like promoting V2, but actual education material on how to use it, how to conceptualize margining. Margining is a pretty different system than the pooled model. Also with bonds, there isn't really any fixed rate, fixed term market out there that's very efficient. And so we're going to be putting out a lot of content out there to just educate people on how to use it, how to integrate with it, and we'll be at some of the more well-known conferences coming up in a few months, and hopefully giving some talks, having some panels, doing some education sessions.
Yep.
Developer education, building on Solana, building on Anchorage, and yeah, so you'll be seeing our footprint out there pretty broadly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've saved, a bunch of dry powder. We spent a lot of time building, even like in the heat, even the bull market when everyone was just firing things out into the void just to get them out there. Like we prepared for this, this stage of the market, and excited to start rolling out everything we've been building and building a sustainable airplane infrastructure.
To keep up to date with where Jet's going, please follow us on Twitter, join us our Discord, and chat with us directly. Also, if you want to learn more about where we're going with our on-chain governance process, you can join us on the forums as well. And if you'd like to take a look at our code, please check out our GitHub. Thanks for watching.
Yep. Thanks for watching.